Okay, so this effect is not that complicated in and of itself. Let's say the spectator picked the 4 clubs. Now you have to control it all the way on top. In the first variation of this performance, I controlled the selection all the way on top using 2 different techniques. In the second variation, I only use 1. However, if you want to know the way I did it, just go to this video photo and I'll post them in the right sequence that I control it. Now, once you already have the selection all the way on top, you have to pick up 2 cards as one. Now, this is going to be the setup. You have to place somewhere around the center of the deck the 2 cards in 2 different spots. But you cover the front edge by pushing with the index right below. Okay, right over here. That's what you need to do. So over here, the front edge, it joins together, but from the sides you can still see the gap right there and here, except from the front because you're pushing with the index finger up. Now how can you get into this setup? The middle and ring finger, that in the short side, and the pinky and index finger goes on the long side, okay? They square the double. Now the thumb is located right here on the corner, not from the side of the pinky finger, but from the index finger. On the same long side of the index finger is located. So the thumb must be pushing against this corner to create a gap right here. Let me show you, right there. As you can see, it separates. Do not push with the thumb against the index finger because you not only will create a gap over here, but you will also create a gap over here in this long side as well. You don't want the items to see a gap in this long side of the double. So to minimize any gaps, just make sure the thumb is pushing just against this corner, just against the side. It may be a little slight move over here, but notice over here, it is big enough. When you put the double right inside of the deck, they're already into 2 different parts. And before you remove this hand out of the way, make sure you're already pushing with the index finger down here. So the second thing is you must know a flourish, this flourish. It is quite easy. With the index finger, you're pushing against the card, little slightly. So there is a minor gap between the card and whatever bottom portion is right below. So it doesn't disturb the direction. Okay, so it has to be in a slight pressure. So the tip of the index finger must be tacky. What happens if there is no index finger right below? Well, if I get rid of it by doing that, the card is just gonna move right down here. And that's what is gonna happen with this card. Maybe more or less than what you see right there. And since there is no pivot point on the indifferent card, this is what is gonna happen. The selection is the one that spins, but the indifferent card goes down here. So they both going into different directions. Once again, now there is another point. When I spin, I stretch the index finger a little further up just to make more emphasis on the selection. You don't have to, but that's what I did in the performance. And these fingers are covering the indifferent card. Once you already have it over here, all you need to do, make sure you close the gaps between the fingers, because sometimes you want to keep them relaxed. You cannot keep them relaxed, at least not in these circumstances, not yet. Until you spread with this other hand, you're covering the indifferent card over here. Okay, so you must keep spreading, and in the process of spreading, be careful not to spread too much, because you will end up exposing the indifferent card from this other side. So what you need to do in the process of spreading is sliding that selection outside of it and bring it all the way at the bottom. Okay. Now it may not be as easy as it looks, because you need to keep the pressure with this thumb over here on the fingers, so you don't expose over here. And also you need to keep the pressure over here with this other thumb. So by stretching the spread, you get it off, and then you can keep spreading. Now to square the indifferent card right down here is by closing the spread. Notice the middle finger of this hand and the middle finger of this other hand, they're gonna spin the card in the process of closing the spread. Once again, I need to take the indifferent card all the way out by spreading the deck. And when closing, notice from the top, when I close, the card spins between the middle finger of each hand. Okay. I'd rather have this card in jog if by any chance you are not capable of completely squaring the indifferent card down here and you still have some minor discrepancies. I'd rather have those minor discrepancies in jog instead of out jog. Now, however, the way to get rid of this card, the indifferent card that is down here, you can take with a middle finger the indifferent card and with a thumb the selection, bring both cards up here. But that's supposed to be a casual move. That is not supposed to be while people still staring at you, just like that. You can also proceed any other routine, like a triumph or whatever routine it requires to have a face-up card. There is another way you can end up clean with this indifferent card facing down all the way on top. Let me show you that. It is also quite easy. Once you already have the indifferent card over here, you still have to take it all the way outside. With an index finger, the index finger is going to be the pivot finger, and the middle finger is going to spin it. Just like this. Okay. So it goes aligned. This is going to happen below my hand, or below the spread, under my hand as well. So when I close the spread, and I'm about to reach over here the selection, I'm concealing with my index finger over here to reach the selection so I can take it outside. Notice I'm aligning the card in under or below the spread. This is what I did in the first variation of this performance, but in the first variation, instead of putting the card on top, so what I did, I already had the card over here. I moved the deck towards the card so I can take that selection outside. So instead of moving the card on top, I'm moving the deck below the card that I'm concealing on my hand. Let me go through again very quickly. You take the card outside so you can freely tilt it under the spread and under your hand as well, because in the tilting process, or in the spinning process, I'm sorry, you may flash over here, so you still need to conceal under your hand in case of any possible flashes. So when you reach, you either move the card over the deck or you move the deck below the card so you can take the selection outside. So that's the skill you're using to put the card right over the deck so you can reach the selection. So that's what I did in the first variation. I ended up putting the card all the way on top. In the second variation, I left the card all the way at the bottom of the deck. That's why the second variation may look cleaner than the first one. So one last time, very quickly, I'm not gonna get into a lot of details as I did. Just a recap. You have the double, okay, you flip it over any way you want it. You have to surround the double by the front of the deck. The thumb pushes against this corner, so there is no gaps going along this side of the double. And if you're still unsecure about it, just move a little further down. And like I explained before, since the card on the bottom is the only card that it has a pivot point, the card on top doesn't. That's the only card that is gonna spin. This is the one you cover under the spread. Whether you want to bring it on top or leave it at the bottom, that is going to be up to you. In this case, I just bring it back on top. So that's it. I hope you like it.